Ryan McCarthy from Belly Up Sports to talk NHL and a little New York football Giants. Nope, just kidding. New York football Jets. All that and more. That's what's cooking on today's Sports Stove podcast.
From Belly Up Sports and the Belly Up Podcast Network, you're listening to the Sports Stove podcast with your host, Vince Stover.
Hey, good looking. What you got cooking? How's about cooking something up in me?
Hello and welcome to an all-new Sports Stove podcast. Today's episode being presented by In the Clutch. InTheClutch.com provides officially licensed apparel for Major League Baseball, the Major League Baseball Players Association, NHL, NBA, among other things as well. Go to InTheClutch.com and use the code SPORTSSTOVE. You get 10% off your first purchase. InTheClutch.com, code SPORTSSTOVE. And this episode today is a special Memorial Day edition episode of the Sports Stove podcast. Joining me as he normally does is my dad, Dale Stover. Dad, welcome back. How are you?
Good, doing good. Thanks for having me again. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's going to be a long weekend, at least for most people, because of Memorial Day weekend. And me and my wife were just discussing, how do you talk about Memorial Day weekend? Can you say happy Memorial Day weekend, as the weekend is a solemn reminder of those who have given their lives in service of our country. And so we want to take a moment to remember or think about and speak on Memorial Day, as this episode is coming out Sunday, but of course to be listened to for anybody that wants to, at least on Memorial Day, give you something to listen to as well. But again, Memorial Day is a day where we take time to think about, to consider, to remember those who have given their lives for service of our country. And we say thank you to them, but we also say thank you to their family members as they have lost loved ones. And it is often not said enough. Thank you to the families of our servicemen and women. And so we want to say thank you to you all, wives, husbands, brothers, sisters, moms, dads, children, and others who have lost loved ones in service of the United States of America. And it seems like more and more often we have people griping and complaining about our country more so than celebrating the wonderfulness of it. And the reason why America is the greatest country in the world is because of those who not only give their lives, but even those who are willing to give their lives for our country. So again, as we will have different ways of taking in Memorial Day, many people have a wonderful time, spend time with family. It's kind of the opening of summer to some degree, a lot of time at the lake or the pool, around food, different things like that. May we all take a little bit of time to remember those who gave their lives and their family members who have lost loved ones as well. And again, we say thank you to all those willing to sacrifice of themselves so that we can celebrate the freedoms that we do have. And we'll talk more about that in a little bit. Dad, as we get into Memorial Day, and although it is a more of a somber, I guess, holiday, or that's what it's intended to be, most people take it as a time to celebrate, get some time off of work, and enjoy time together. So I'm curious your thoughts on the best way to spend the day or the long weekend here at Memorial Day.
Well, like you said, with it being kind of the kickoff to summer, there's things, to be done preparing for that. Obviously, with the weather, it's, starting out with summer, it's activities. Like you mentioned, a lot of people would go to the lake and things like that. You could do stuff outside, and a lot of family gatherings would be outside as compared to, some of the ones that take place in the winter. So I do think it's a time when people get together, and it's something that, is promoted ahead of time. Up here where I'm at, there's a lot of emphasis on that. I've seen, this week as I travel at work, I deliver, so I'm around a lot of places, and boy, a big show of flags and everything like that, even along the interstate and all along properties. Have several little towns up here that have in their town, they post flags that have pictures of people that served in the military and gave their life, and a large number in some of these little towns. They put them on each flagpole, street poles. They go down the roads, and there's a lot of them. So been reminded a lot in the last week or so about the spirit of Memorial Day.
Yeah, we take the opportunity with time off work. We're going camping and spending some time enjoying the nice weather and enjoying lots of food, grilled meat, things like that as well. And so it is a time that we take nowadays to really just enjoy some different time, I guess, time away from the normal daily routine, and enjoy a good burger or bratwurst or something like that as well. Even at church on Sunday, we're celebrating with grilled meats and fellowship, ping pong and cornhole and different things like that. So a lot of good times around that. Dad, that brings us to our first topic of the day. We're going to talk some Major League Baseball here. We will be joined here in a few minutes by Ryan McCarthy. He's the hockey head at Belly Up Sports. He also covers the New York Jets, and so we'll talk to him about those things. But baseball had some interesting news this week. Let's start with Tommy Pham and Jock Peterson. Following a game, there's reports that Tommy Pham had slapped Jock Peterson, and he's been suspended, I think, 3 games for it. When asked about it, Jock Peterson says, yeah, we're in a fantasy football league together. And last year, there was a time where he had a guy who was listed as out, so he put him on the injured list and then picked up somebody in free agency. And Tommy Pham was mad because he was stashing players. And Jock Peterson said that's the reason for the altercation that happened. Do you think there's more to the story than that?
I don't know. You would think. It's funny though. Part of it, we talk about, the Reds and their season or whatever, and you've got a player here right before the game worried about settling a score from last year in fantasy football. That might be part of the problem. I don't know, but it seems like a strange thing to happen on the field before the game. There have been other times they could have met and he could have discussed it if that was the issue. So it was a little bizarre.
Bizarre is a great word for it. I messaged a fantasy baseball league that I'm in, and I said, guys, I hope you've seen this. Just remember, this is just a game. Let's not take it too seriously. But, interesting to say the least. And you're right, the Reds, they're at 15 wins now, which is more than I thought they'd win all season. But they are struggling, and you're right. I got a guy who's so concerned about a fantasy football issue from last year, and now how does that affect right now? I have no idea, but all well. They got that taken care of. Let's get a little bit more serious, though. Gabe Kapler comes out. He's the manager of the San Francisco Giants, and he says he won't be coming out for the national anthem anymore until he starts to feel better about the direction of our country. Boy, I got lots of thoughts on this, Dad, but my first thought was we got too many people who are willing to stand and wait till they feel better about the country versus actually working to improve things in the country. And let's start with this angle. The NFL took a pretty big dip when they started doing things. Now, they knelt during the flag, during the national anthem, and that stirred up a lot of emotions and different things like that. Did it get the conversation going? Some people think yes, some people think no. It did start something, I suppose. Major League Baseball doesn't have the cushion that the NFL had when it comes to ratings and things like that. So I want to start from that angle. Gabe Kapler not coming out for the national anthem. You assume others would follow suit. How does this affect Major League Baseball?
Well, again, I think it'll have an effect on it, like you said, it did on the NFL, and a lot bigger effect on the NFL than, the media, tried to portray from there. And I think in baseball, if it gets to be a thing again where, that's something that people feel like they need to do, this one's a little bit different the way it's set up. But it'll be interesting if a lot of people, I would think you would learn the national anthem is not the problem. And, to say, well, it doesn't have anything to do with disrespecting the national anthem, that's not true, because that's what you're boycotting. And it will definitely have an effect. It will not be a positive effect on baseball if that gets to be the thing. There's some other issues to this I'm sure we'll talk about here in a few minutes as we go along.
Yeah, I don't know how much I want to get into it. We try very hard on this show just to keep it sports. But I'm disappointed. The things that people choose to speak out about versus the things they choose to ignore. And obviously the shooting in Texas is a horrible, horrible event. And, it's innocent children, and just seemed to be absolutely no reason for the crime committed. How does boycotting the anthem, how does standing in the tunnel during the anthem change anything? And he says he's going to stay there until he feels better about the direction of the country. Well, what would make him feel better about the direction of the country? And it seems to me like we've gotten into this, it's all across America, not just in sports, but into this line. The line has been drawn now, and it has nothing to do with one singular issue. You have to pick your side, and you're not allowed to have opinions really anymore outside of, a side. You pick that side, and you got to be on that side for everything. And you get lumped into a certain category depending on what you say about certain issues. I'm trying to be careful and, again, not get too political on the program here, but I'm just disappointed. Sports has been a distraction, a positive distraction, I would say, for many times. But I think more important than a distraction, Dad, I think sports has been a unifier in the past, where everybody's been able to come together and treat each other well and have a good time together through sports. And now in the last several years, sports has become a dividing factor as well, because it's been politicized. And there's no way to get away from politics anymore. There's not that escape anymore. And all we're asking for is a couple hours of sports to help us just get a little peace, I guess, in our minds, a rest, a break from the chaos and the insanity of this world. And Dad, it seems like sports don't allow us to do that anymore.
No, that's true. And again, I think, I'll be careful about what I say here. And, we don't want to get real political, but I think the issue you kind of really hit on it was, not coming out for the anthem. What is that going to do? I think if a person is going to boycott something or do something that, if they're really serious about it, they need to think, well, is this really going to make a difference? Is this going to make effect? Is it going to help the situation? And when he says, I'm going to do this until I feel better about the country, and he even said he felt like a coward because he didn't do something earlier, but yet he's not really saying what's he going to do? Like you said, well, until I feel better about the country, but he has at this point come out and said, well, the country needs to do this. And then, because again, what he says, there probably will be other complications. It will not be a simple thing from there. I think everyone agrees that this was a horrible thing, and everyone would like to stop these things from happening. But, like you said, people choose what they're for and what they're against. And, it's hard to be consistent with that. I know I think I read where he made the statement that, this is the only country that has mass shootings. Well, I don't know if he looks around or not, but other countries have the actual country themselves doing mass shootings. And what are we doing with that? So, it's hard to be consistent with that for any of us. We could tell people where we stand, but would we be totally consistent with it? It would be hard to. But yeah, I think you're right. Sports is a thing that can be a unifier. It can give us a little bit of a break. It can help there. And for people to try to make it something different. And like you said, it'll end up being very unsuccessful as far as the business side of it. And that's what drives a lot of sports.
Yeah, I think one of the issues I have too is professional athletes and coaches have a platform, and I don't have a problem with them using their platform. But I think even what Steve Kerr did, and I don't agree with all that Steve Kerr said, but he used his platform. He was in front of a microphone and he used that. And that was the issue I had with Colin Kaepernick when he started kneeling was, you say you want to make a difference, but you have the microphone every day. Press conferences, you can call a press conference. You're an NFL quarterback and you have that platform. Why take the time on the field? That's when you're not speaking, you're sure you're making an action, you're saying something with your actions. But I feel like if you want to use your platform, you want to use the one with the microphone. And when it comes to that time frame of the game, let's be a unifier and not a divider. And and again, there's no way to discuss the political factors of this without offending people, and there's no way to do it without sounding insensitive sometimes. So we'll be careful with that as well. We truly do care, and thoughts, prayers to the families. We spent time praying for the families this week in Texas that lost loved ones, both children and adults, and it's just a hard time. So we continue to think that way, and we'll continue to see how things change over time between sports, coaches, athletes, and things like that, because we're seeing things change for sure on that. On a lighter note, the Dodgers announced this week that they are going to retire Gil Hodges, number 14, early in June. And of course, it's, my goodness, 40, 50 years after his death. But they decided to do it finally. Honestly, Dad, Gil Hodges was so far before me, I wouldn't have known about him had I not lived in the town he was born in. And there was a mural of him up there. And he was a little bit before your time too, but is it weird? I don't know. I just kind of found it was kind of odd timing to all of a sudden, not that it wasn't deserving, just odd timing to announce this retirement of the number 14 for Gil Hodges.
You're right. I mean, it's kind of a long time after, but I do think when you're talking about family members and people like that, I think it's something that can always be a help. There would still be, family members, not immediate family members maybe, but, people that would enjoy that. And again, it's a part of, the Dodgers history. And, you wonder sometimes why wait, but that happens in a lot of sports, people that get up on the Ring of Honor, different things like that. Sometimes it happens right away. Sometimes it's long after they've passed. But it's still an honor and an honor for the family and to remember that.
I agree with you completely. All right, a couple things real quick. First of all, I want to let people know about Elementor. Get Elementor, the ultimate WordPress website builder. With live drag and drop editor, you can build and customize every part of your website with zero coding required. Elementor is your all-inclusive solution for your website. Create, manage, and host your website through Elementor. Use the Sports Stove exclusive link in the episode notes on YouTube or any podcast platform and find out more about Elementor. They're having a birthday sale right now. It goes on through the weekend into early next week. And you can get 30% off a package. It's a great deal and a great way to help as well. We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll be joined by Ryan McCarthy of Belly Up Sports. InTheClutch.com, the newest sponsors of the Sports Stove podcast, and we are excited to partner with InTheClutch.com. They have officially licensed apparel and accessories for your favorite sports teams and athletes. Use code SPORTSSTOVE and get 10% off your first purchase. You can find shirts like I Still Own You from Green Bay Packers. Are we talking about practice? All kinds of great shirts in baseball, football, hockey, and basketball. Officially licensed apparel from InTheClutch.com. Again, use the code SPORTSSTOVE to get 10% off your purchase. Welcome back into the Sports Stove podcast, and we are joined now by the ultra cool, the ultra slick, the one and only Ryan McCarthy from Belly Up Sports Hockey Department. He also has the podcast, No Credentials Required, and writes about the New York Jets. Ryan, welcome back to the program. How you doing?
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot. I wasn't on corner booth. I had to change my glasses. Hang on one second, guys. There we go. Much better.
Are those your Yeats glasses?
Those are my Yeats glasses. Yes.
There
You could definitely get them. I think you get if you use promo code Belly Up, you get 20% off your order. So nice. Little promo there.
Well, I'd like to bring Ryan on to talk hockey. I'm not going to lie, Ryan. I have paid zero attention once the Predators were eliminated to the NHL playoffs. Dad, on the other hand, has paid attention as well. And I know that your New York Rangers are still around, trailing 3-2. Now, this episode is going to come out on Sunday. So the game they're playing on Saturday will be done by the time this episode drops. And we don't know exactly what's going to happen there. But let's start with that Hurricanes and Rangers series. And what have you seen from it? Listen, I say I haven't paid any attention, but I have paid enough attention to know that these playoffs for the NHL have been phenomenal this year.
Well, to correct you, I'm a New Jersey Devils fan.
I'm sorry.
First of all, that's okay. That's okay. But no, this entire playoff has been absolutely wonderful. If you're a hockey fan, even if you're a casual hockey fan, you have to tune in because there are some excellent hockey being played between the Rangers having that comeback in the first round, down 3-1. They come back to win that series. They're playing the Hurricanes, winning every single home game, but losing every away game. Excuse my cat as he comes in the background. And just Tampa Bay's dominance. Just Tampa Bay surprisingly dominant in the second round against Florida, the President's Cup winner. And just showing who they really truly are as Stanley Cup champions, defending Stanley Cup champion, 2-time Stanley Cup champion, I must say, back to back. This has been an awesome playoffs, and also if you're a casual fan, you have to you must know about the name Connor McDavid. That kid is he's having the playoff of his life, and the Edmonton Oilers are now have advanced to the Western Conference Final. So it'll be a very entertaining game, entertaining series against Colorado, who clinched their series last night. So this has been an exciting playoff. You've paid attention to the playoff a little bit as much as I've been paying attention to the NBA playoffs, but but I do have to say even if you're a casual fan, you have to be excited about what's been going on with the NHL playoffs this year.
Well, you got the Avalanche and the Oilers. Is there finally a new era of stars taking over the NHL? Because it used to be your standard Sidney Crosbys of the world, and now it seems like these young guns are taking over the league.
Yeah, hockey's definitely generational when it comes to stars. Sidney Crosby, from the 2000s up until he's still playing pretty strong game. He's still a pretty dominant force when it comes to players and also household names. But now you got in the Colorado Edmonton series, especially, you've got Nathan McKinnon, who was recently, and Gabriel Landeskog. They were recently in a Pepsi Zero commercial. Cale Makar, who is probably the best offensive defenseman since Paul Coffey. If you recognize the name Paul Coffey, old Edmonton Oiler, Pittsburgh Penguin superstar back in the day, a Detroit Red Wing, was in the league very long time, one of the best offensive defensemen of the 80s and 90s. For Edmonton, you got Connor McDavid, you got Leon Draisaitl, who is the first German-born Hart Trophy winner. Hart Trophy, or he was a scoring champion a couple years ago. So it's just fun. It's gonna be a fun series. That's gonna be a fun series to watch. I will not be surprised if it goes between 6 and 7 games for this one. But I've had to be honest with you, I've had some money running on the Oilers. And if they win the Stanley Cup, I got nice handsome payout. So I'm kind of rooting for them. But also there's that element of also a Canadian team not winning the Stanley Cup since 1993. It's almost 30 years since the Canadian team won the Stanley Cup. So that's a big narrative coming into this. And Edmonton, you could see a rematch of the Edmonton Oilers and Carolina Hurricanes from the 2006 Stanley Cup final if both teams advance to the Stanley Cup final. So if you're a casual hockey fan, or if you're not a hockey fan at all, if you want to know some of the names who are out there right now who are playing hockey, this series is definitely it.
Who's going to win the Rangers Hurricane series?
I think it's going 7. I think the Hurricanes are going to take it in 7, just because of the fact that Carolina is such a strong home team, but when they're outside of Raleigh, I don't know what happens if they drink the wrong water, if the Northeast is just a different animal when it comes to hockey. They just can't seem to win on the road, and they had their chance. They actually had their chance in Game 3 to win, but unfortunately, that the Rangers held them down. So, I think Carolina wins this series, but it'll take 7 games again.
Now, I picked Tampa to go all the way once the playoffs started, and they're still in it. They swept, of course, the last series. You talked about them just a second ago. Does Tampa get to the finals, or does Carolina trip them up?
Boy, that's a good question. I would have to say, just based on the fact that Carolina will have home ice if they do advance to the Eastern Conference Final, I think Carolina takes it. Now, bear in mind, when Tampa Bay has a lead, they don't let go. When they smell blood in the water, they're like a shark. They smell blood in the water. They're going to go after it. And this team is very reminiscent to my New Jersey Devils back in the mid '90s, early 2000s when they had the best goaltender in the league, the best defensive system in the league. Everybody was blocking shots, and they're a very opportunistic offense. So that's how Tampa Bay plays, and John Cooper is a very good head coach. John Cooper Esquire, because he was a lawyer before he went into coaching, before he became an NHL coach. But John Cooper is a very good head coach, and even with all the cap issues that the Lightning have had to overcome, players leaving because of cap issues, the players buy into his system because they know they can succeed. They can succeed in this system. And whether it's an opportunistic offense, you got different guys score. You don't have a dominant score on this team. You have every single line pitching in. When you have strong defense and you have arguably the best goaltender in the world in Andre Vasilevsky, this team is excellent. And I wouldn't be surprised if they go back to the Stanley Cup final. But just because of the fact that Carolina has that home ice advantage and they're so good at home, should they advance to the Eastern Conference Final, I'm gonna have to take Carolina in that series.
All right. So then on the other end, now you've got money on Edmonton. So I don't know if you can be an unbiased thought on this, but Colorado had the better year, but not by a ton. No. And you mentioned the story behind Edmonton would be pretty neat as well. Mm-hmm. What do you think the chances are that one goes 7 games?
Colorado, I think the chances are very good. It goes 7 games. And part of the reason why is because Colorado has just been so dominant. They basically led the Central Division from pillar to post the entire season. They almost wound up winning the President's Trophy. While on the other side, Edmonton's had to go through a lot of adversity. They had if I remember correctly, a 9-game winless skid in January, and that led to the firing of Dave Tippett. And they've had a lot to overcome. They almost fell out of the playoff race for a while, but they came back and they won up winning second place in the Pacific Division. Had to go through a 7-game series against a very, very young but a very surprisingly good Los Angeles Kings team. They went 7. They actually won the last 2 games to win the series. And then they had the Battle of Alberta against Calgary, a very good, very sound Calgary Flames team, and they want to take them in 5 games. They lose the first game 9-6. They lose 9-6 in that really wild game 1, but then they take the next 4 games, and it's just the one thing you got to watch out for with Edmonton. You cannot give either McDavid or Draisaitl a lot of open ice because they're so fast, they're so speedy. They'll absolutely take advantage of that open ice, and they're going to score goals in bunches. Now, the one player I gotta have my eye on is Zach Hyman, formerly of the Toronto Maple Leafs, came over to Edmonton this past season. He's a clutch goal scorer. I think he scored a goal in all 5 games in that Calgary series. So he's a guy to watch for sure in terms of goal scoring. I think he's on the same line as Draisaitl and McDavid, if I'm not mistaken. But the one thing that's really been surprising ever since that game game 1 against Calgary, their defense has been really, really solid, and they've been limiting chances. They've let some goals go through. Mike Smith is, he's getting up there in age. I think he's 41 at this point, 41 or 39, but still, that's a lot of experience to have on your side when it comes to playoff experience. And Mike Smith certainly has it in spades. So you got yourself a veteran goaltender. So I mean, biases aside, yes, this definitely can go 7. Either team could win and advance to the Stanley Cup final. I hope it's Edmonton. I won't be surprised if it's Colorado.
Dad, hockey questions for Ryan.
Yeah, I just got a couple. Tampa Bay, the long layoff. Is that a big deal in hockey? Will that be a positive or a negative?
Well, it certainly wasn't a negative for Colorado when they swept. I'm sorry to say they swept Nashville. My condolences to your Nashville Predators. But they didn't have it. Didn't really matter in that series since they played St. Louis. They won in 6 games, but the first game they came out against St. Louis in the first period, it should have been 4-0 because they were hitting goal posts. I think I've never seen this before. They hit both posts and the crossbar in the same period. It's never happened before in this Stanley Cup playoff game. They were only up 1-0 in that game. They should have been up 4-0 in that game. So they came out flying. I won't be surprised if Tampa Bay comes out flying, especially against 2 teams who may go 7 games in their first 2 series coming up to the finals. So regardless of whether or not the Hurricanes or Rangers advance, I think they come out flying because they're well rested. They had a pretty easy series against Florida. I was very shocked that this series, especially the last 2 games, were such an easy task for the Lightning. But yeah, I expect them to come out flying in the first game of whoever they play, whether it be the Rangers or whether it be the Carolina Hurricanes. I expect them to come out flying in the first period of that game.
Oh, Dad, we got you on a delay. You might have to switch over. I'll take him off for a second. I'm gonna get him switched over to a different device to work on that delay. Ryan, as we're waiting for him to come back, and I've always said, and I feel embarrassed that I haven't been watching the playoffs, because I've always said NHL playoffs is the best playoff sport out there. Hockey and playoff time, it just doesn't get any better, especially you get to that third quarter within a goal, final 3 minutes of a game. It's just electric. And really the whole game, I think, is good. But playoff hockey, you come down to the end, I like it better than any close basketball game, than any final drive in the NFL, than any 9th inning of baseball. To me, NHL playoffs is top-notch.
Yeah, the 2 best words in sports are always going to be Game 7, because no matter which series it is, what round it's in, whether it be the first round of the playoffs or the Stanley Cup final, Game 7 is a blast, regardless of who plays. For my money, it's the Stanley Cup final. My ranking for playoffs is always going to be Stanley Cup playoffs, NFL playoffs, Major League Baseball playoffs, NBA playoffs, amongst the 4 major teams. That's from many years of watching hockey myself. The first time I ever watched playoff hockey was 1988 when I became a New Jersey Devils fan, because I watched them play for the first time in a playoff game and wound up going to the Eastern Conference Final. Actually, there was back then the Prince of Wales Conference Final, because back then it was the Wales and the Campbell conferences. But ever since then, I've had this affinity for just loving Stanley Cup playoffs, because it's just so much fun to watch, and it's playoff hockey is amazing. I mean, great. That's when hockey gets most exciting for me, and for any fan out there.
One of my favorite hockey moments that I was ever a part of and got to be there live for was me and Dad were at a Predators jersey game. And they had a guy get up. Nashville was well known for their pregame stuff and those kinds of things as well. But a guy got up dressed as Reverend Stanley Cup, and he preached a little sermon about the Devils. And it was a great time, a good time, and something I'll always remember. Dad, I think we got you back. What other questions do you have for Ryan?
Good. I was going to ask, do you think Roman Josi will win the Norris Trophy?
He certainly has a chance. He certainly has a chance to. I mean, he certainly had a breakout season in terms of points and being one of the best defensemen in the NHL. I think he certainly has a chance. I just got to find out who were the other Norris Trophy candidates. Took me just a moment to bring that up, but yeah, the year he had was outstanding, and I think he had the most points as a defenseman for Nashville Predators in history, if I'm not mistaken. His game speaks for him. His game speaks for himself, and yeah, and Nashville couldn't have gone. I don't think they would have gone to the playoffs if they didn't have hadn't Roman Josi as their main defensive catalyst. And also having UC Saros as well. So, but yeah, I think Roman Josi certainly has a chance to win the Norris Trophy. We already won it once in 2020, so I can imagine he could probably win it again. He would probably win it again.
Juice Saros. I'll tell you what, Nashville's had a great run.
Am I still on delay there a lot, Vince?
Yes. He'll get that in 5 minutes. All right, we're taking care of that. Just 1 second here. All right. Perfect. All right, let's take him off. Okay. We'll get him on a different device. All right, Ryan, let's go away from football, because something else you do at Belly Up Sports is you cover the New York Jets. And I, for one, believe the Jets have had the best 2 years in the NFL draft of any team out there. But I want to start with the most important question, that's quarterback. Zach Wilson, drafted number 2 last year, had an okay year, got injured, different things happen. They've done things to help him, but it all comes back to that. Does Zach Wilson, is he the quarterback of the future for the Jets?
I believe he is. And just based on the offseason, he took charge this offseason. He traveled around and to his different receivers. He trained with them away from did some workouts away from One Jets Drive in Florham Park. He's participating in OTAs, and he's been doing a pretty bang up job there. So I think he realized his role this year is to become more of a leader. And from what Jets coaches, I believe Coach Robert Saleh has said, between what Mike LaFleur, his offensive coordinator, has said, he said, and some of the players too, they're noticing Zach Wilson is becoming more vocal in the huddle. He's not. He knows the playbook. He's more familiar with the playbook. He's better at reading routes. He's better at his progressions, and they've noticed that he's become, again, more vocal as a leader in the locker room, and he realizes it too, that he has to step up this year. This year, it's his second year, and the success of the offense and with all the pieces they've added with Garrett Wilson and Bryce Hall, and signing those 2 tight ends and drafting a tight end as well, Jeremy Ruckert, and signing TJ Uzama and Tyler Conklin, he realizes he has to step up in his role. And that's why he's been so much more vocal in the locker room and the huddle, and the coaches are noticing that, and there's teammates noticing that. And I am so excited for this coming season to see how he'll he'll progress. I'm very excited to see how, and hopefully things work out with him. But he's got the quarterback room is awesome between him, Mike White, and Joe Flacco. They all love each other. They all get along. They all realize that if one guy falls, another guy's up to step up. Another guy comes in to step up. But I believe Zach Wilson will definitely be the leader of the quarterback of this team going forward. I think that next step starts this year.
Now, I've heard different people's opinions on the receiver they drafted this year, Wilson from Ohio State. I like the pick. I had him ranked as my number one receiver going into this draft. So in my personal thoughts were they got the number one receiver. They got who was their first pick? Oh, the number one corner.
Number one corner. Yep.
They got the top 4 edge rusher and the number 1 running back. So that's a pretty solid first 4 picks of the draft this year to go with what they did last year, adding offensive linemen and a quarterback, receiver. Elijah Moore. I love Elijah Moore as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems like they're kind of putting those pieces together because I did not like their other receivers. I liked Elijah Moore. I'm very anti their other receivers. So as a Jets fan and someone who covers and pays attention to the team, if Zach Wilson is close to what they hope he would be, I mean, this offense should be pretty dynamic, right?
Absolutely. And you had that 1A. The Jets drafted their 1A running back and Breece Hall. Breece Hall. When we were on the Belly Up NFL Draft special, the live stream, at first I was kind of confused because I thought it was kind of a luxury pick to pick Breece Hall and especially to trade up with him to get him.
Yeah.
But the more and more I watched his highlights and I watched the film of oh gosh, what's his name? But I watched his film and it just the speed, the agility, the catch passing ability in the backfield that Breece Hall adds to this offense is going to make this offense exponentially better. And he's going to be that between the tackles guy who could carry the ball multiple times. He'll get at least 20 to 25 touches per game between both rushes and receiving on the backfield. They'll also have Michael Carter in the backfield, who kind of had a breakout role last year before he got injured. Seems to be the problem with the Jets for the last couple seasons. One guy breaks out, he gets injured, next guy comes in, and it's like, it's not as exciting. But Brian Baldinger, Baldy's breakdowns. So Baldy's breakdowns. If you watch Baldy's breakdowns of Breece Hall, he absolutely loves him. But yeah, I think with all the pieces that Joe Douglas between the draft and the free agency period, all those pieces with rookies and veterans coming in, this is going to be a very unique, dynamic offense. But the one position spot I'm looking most forward to is the offensive line. I am as a guy who used to play offensive line and defensive line, I am most excited to see this group because you'll have Laken Tomlinson at left guard. You'll have hopefully Mekhi Becton comes back. If not, you'll have George Fant. You'll have at center Connor McGovern, who'll probably be his last year here unless he decides to restructure his contract. Then you have on the at right guard Elijah Vera Tucker, all rookie team. On the left tackle, right tackle, you'll have probably George Fant and Max Mitchell switching around. So I'm most excited to see what this offensive line group can do, because if this line becomes what I believe it should be, you're going to see it'll probably be the best offensive line since the 2009-2010 era, the Rex Ryan era, when he had so many. We had Nick Mangold, the Brickashaw Ferguson, all those guys just grind the ball in the ground in that ground and pound offense. And I'm just looking forward to see what that offensive line group can do.
Yeah, I sit there and look at this team, and me and Dad are fans of the coaching staff, being that they're close friends or related to LaFleur at Green Bay. So we've kind of kept up with that a little bit as well. Carl Lawson, if he gets healthy and comes back, and you add Jermaine Johnson on the edge as a rookie, plus you got the guy last year, I always forget his name with the hyphenated last name, but another guy on the edge too. So plenty of weapons.
Jonathan Franklin Myers.
Yes, Franklin Myers. Thank you. Yeah,
yep.
You got those three guys. So now you got depth at that position as well. Some good veteran guys in the middle. So the Jets should contend. I mean, you're talking about a Miami team. I don't trust Tua. So you got a Miami team that's kind of restocked this year. You've got Buffalo, who's very good, and you've got New England, who you assume is going to be competitive. We'll wait and see on that as well. Dad, any Jets questions for Ryan?
Well, no, like I said, I think they had a great draft, and have done well in the offseason there. I think the biggest question really is Miami. Are they going to be a lot better also? I think, obviously, of course, anytime it's division games, teams are going to play hard, so you always have a chance to win those games, even with Buffalo. But I guess to me, the big question, and I'd be for the Jets, would be just, is Miami really, really improved? I'm not as negative about their quarterback as Vince is. I think he may be okay, but they've added a lot of other pieces too. So what do you think about that?
I think the Dolphins are in a very similar situation as the Jets. That offense is going to go as far as their quarterback can take them. Zach Wilson in New York, Tua Tagovailoa in Miami. They're going to be as good as how Tua takes them. And we've all seen that viral clip of him underthrowing Tyreek Hill in OTAs. But I mean, one clip doesn't really define a quarterback. Yeah, Tua's had some problems, but I think with the new coaching staff he'll have, what is it, Mike McDaniel is his name in Miami. They're going to be much more dynamic offensively. Their defense is fine. Their defense is a solid group. But I think at the end of the day, it's going to come down to what Tua can do at quarterback. It's the same story. I think I see both the Dolphins and the Jets as two very identical teams. Offensively, defensively, they're very solid. But again, it's going to come down to how their quarterback performs.
Mike McDaniel as well as Mike LaFleur, they know how to work with limitations at quarterback, being with Jimmy Garoppolo there in San Francisco. So we'll see how that turns out. Ryan, we're running up on time. So if you don't mind, share with the folks where they can follow you at and where they can find you on your show and other shows you're on.
Yeah, my personal Twitter account and Instagram account is the same handle at whoisRyanMCC on for a podcast, no credentials required on Twitter and again, same handle on Twitter and Instagram at NoCredsREQ, Facebook.com/NoCredsREQ, on YouTube. Just search no credentials required. And my intern, shout out to my intern Mason. He convinced me to start a TikTok account, so now we're on TikTok too. But no, well, we have some exciting things ahead now that I have some extra help. I'm planning some really cool things for July. Hopefully those things fall through. For June, I'm gonna work on getting a CFL preview, Canadian Football League preview for every single CFL team. I've already got my Montreal Alouettes lined up. I just needed 8 more teams. I just needed 8 other teams, whether it be fans or podcasters from that side. So, but no credentials required. Check it out. I appreciate and also bellyupsports.com for written stuff. And hopefully we get things going with the Northern Elite Football League. We'll be doing, I know Vince and I will be doing play-by-play and studio stuff for that. So exciting stuff ahead with Belly Up Sports.
Yeah, Ryan's all over Belly Up Sports, and like you just mentioned, we're part of the live sports coverage teams, and so calling football games and eventually basketball games and different things going on there as well. And Ryan, I sure hope I don't see any videos of you dancing on TikTok anytime too soon, but
I doubt that.
Thanks for joining us, Ryan.
Unless it's the fat guy touchdown dance. No, you probably won't see me dancing. No dance challenges.
Ryan, it's always a pleasure to have you on. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Stover family. Appreciate you.
All right.
Yes, sir. All right, that's Ryan McCarthy from Belly Up Sports, Belly Up Hockey, and covering the New York Jets. All right, Dad, we are running up close on time, but I want to get to a couple quick things in the NFL. Interesting Chargers note I saw on Facebook this week. The Chargers are the only team to not have a player arrested in the last 5 years.
Wow.
So is that a surprise that not all NFL teams have had one arrested, or is it a surprise that there's only one NFL team who in the last 5 years has not had a player arrested?
I'm surprised that there's only one. I would think there would be more than that. I know it's been a rash of stuff in the NFL, but yeah, that's surprising. I would think, I would have probably said, 40% of the teams hasn't had somebody, but apparently that's not true.
It's not true. Last thing I want to get to is the Indianapolis Colts. Of course, they traded for Matt Ryan earlier this year. We both thought that was a great sign or great deal for them. They also now bring in Nick Foles, which makes sense with the ties with the head coach. But Nick Foles comes in as one of the backups now in Indianapolis. Are you surprised they got two such old quarterbacks now in Indianapolis, or do you think that's a wise move for where they are with their roster?
I think it's probably a wise move. I mean, you want to have, again, with Ryan being older, and I think Foles is one of the better backup quarterbacks that you can have. So I don't think that's a bad move. Again, they may look in the future to draft somebody. Again, next year, we've talked about a lot of quarterbacks coming out, but I think Indianapolis feels like they've got a very good team now, having the premier running back and things like that. So that's not really a surprise, and I think it's probably a good move.
Yeah, Jonathan Taylor, who I won a autographed Jonathan Taylor jersey. I have it. I need to hang it on the wall behind me. I got that now, but I like the Colts. I lived in Indiana for 3 years, and I was a Peyton Manning fan anyhow. So I think it's an interesting dynamic that they have there. And Foles, if he's willing to do it, could be a great mentor for the young quarterbacks there as well. And I think Matt Ryan will be more than willing to do it as well. So that could be an awesome opportunity for the young guys. Sam Ellinger's there. The former Washington guys there too, but nonetheless, opportunities arise. I want to let everybody know our next episode will drop on Wednesday. We're going to do an NBA Finals conversation with Parker Ainsworth. We've had him on the show many times before. We'll talk more NBA topics with him as well. I want to thank Ryan McCarthy for joining us for this episode. Remind you about Elementor. Again, it's your one-stop, all-inclusive solution for your website that you can create, manage, and host your website through Elementor. Use the Sports Stove exclusive link in the episode notes on YouTube or any podcast platform. Use that link so that way they know you heard about them here, and you can get all the information. Very affordable. Great opportunities there through Elementor. And then In the Clutch, go to intheclutch.com, official licensed apparel. A lot of great stuff there, graphic T-shirts and things like that. Use the code SPORTSSTOVE. You get 10% off your purchase. Dad, anything you want to add before we sign off today?
No, I enjoyed, having our guest on there. Ryan's always really good and I love to hear stuff about hockey. He really knows everything there and about the Jets too. So yeah, everybody's going to be talking football here pretty quick with having the OTAs, and then we'll get to mini camp, and then, they'll have a month or so off. But now with the schedule out and everything, a lot of, if you're a football fan, NFL fan, then yeah, this is a good time of the year. And again, great time of year with the NBA playoffs, which have been really good this year. The NHL playoffs, again, if you're a casual hockey fan, they've been good. And I think the finals, both conference finals and the Stanley Cup, will be very entertaining. So good time here in sports.
Definitely. I want to remind people we actually have a new schedule now here throughout the summer. We'll be dropping podcast episodes Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. We'll still be on Belly Up TV Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, but the podcast for Friday's episode will actually drop a day early on Thursday, and so you're aware of that. And then make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, the Sports Stove Podcast on YouTube. We're doing more stuff there as well, so tune in there, get to see our beautiful faces. I hope that you can enjoy yourself this long weekend. Take some time to remember those who sacrificed their lives for our country, and take a little time to appreciate the United States of America this week, as a lot of people seem to forget just how great a country that we have. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of the Sports Stove Podcast. Until